Okay. Just check some things here. Make sure everything's sounding good. Okay, welcome to another Sunday fun night of art stuff here. Okay. All right, bear with me. This is a whole different setup than I'm used to doing stuff on, so stuff might get a little weird. Actually, before I forget, there we go. I'm using my phone as an overhead camera, so I had to drop the brightness on it because I don't need the screen brightness cranked all the way because I'm not looking at the screen. There we go. That'll help with, I mean, it's plugged in, but that'll help with, you know, power, even though it is plugged in. So, anywho, I'm Daniel J. Hogan, your intrepid streamer cartoonist buddy. And tonight we're going to get back to doing some art stuff here, old school, with actual paper and paint and whatnot. If I'm leaning out of the shot too much or away from the microphone, I apologize in advance because this is a setup that this setup is not necessarily meant for or wasn't built around. So it was set up more for when I'm on my iPad or doing stuff on the Switch or something. So we'll see how it goes. We'll figure it out. Okay. Just gotta set some things up here so I can see stuff better. Okay. All right. So what I'm doing tonight is I picked up this book yesterday at my local art supply shop, Odd Nod Art Supply here in Lansing. They didn't sponsor anything. I go there a lot and I try to buy as much as my art stuff locally through them as I can. So I was there yesterday and I picked up this book because it seemed like a fun thing to do on stream. Just, you know, little watercolor exercises things, as I talked about on, oh, well, that's not out yet, but I recorded a review yesterday for Art Dice, and it's, as I said in that, there's times where I don't want to think about what I have to do. I just want to follow directions or have a prompt or that sort of thing. So yeah, it's kind of why I have been enjoying doing like model kits and stuff lately, because I don't have to like figure stuff out. I just my hair is getting real crazy over here. Anyway, I just like, you know, following directions and, you know, that sort of thing. It's something I kind of first learned about through the South Park documentary, 6 Days to Air, I watched years ago. Something that, I think it's Trey Parker. I always get him mixed up. But anyway, to unwind and sort of decompress from running a show all week, he would build Lego kits for the same reason, because he just follows directions and, you know, doesn't have to think about it, doesn't have to like come up with ideas and that sort of thing. So there's something to be said for that when you're, like, I definitely know from my own experience. Hang on a second. Something I forgot to do. Oh, I can't do it. I forgot to. Blue Sky is a thing now where you can say you're live and it makes your avatar have like a live logo, but my phone's locked into being camera and all that stuff, so no, it's not going to happen. Oh well. So, yeah. To get back to what I was saying, it's sometimes nice to, with something like this, just follow directions and, you know, at least use it as a starting point. And, you know, I'm not necessarily going to follow it word for word necessarily. May not even use the same exact colors I recommend because I may not have them, but we're just going to play around and have fun. So decrease the size of my screen here because it's kind of giving me a little seasickness watching myself. Okay. So yeah, this is a 15-minute watercolor masterpieces by Anna Koliadych. I'm probably saying that wrong. I apologize, but it looked fun. $23.99 US if you're looking to pick it up, which is the cover price. $30.99 in Canada, according to the thing. So it's just got these different. Let's get this on camera. Actually, just different steps. It says the colors, color mixing, and here's what you do first, etc. And I'll mostly follow it. I might just again use it as a starting point kind of thing, just to get me playing around, which is part of the fun. But the other good thing about it, if you're new to watercolor, I've been playing with watercolor for years now, so some of this is info I know, but it's always good to get a refresher. Hopefully it's not too bright on the page there. But it's got a good description of different brushes, and yeah, it's probably blowing out the page a little bit, isn't it? Color theory stuff, different techniques, that sort of thing. So I have not decided what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll do this forest one. So I gotta get set up here. Can use my trusty traveler's notebook clip here. Something else I got at Odd Art Supply here in Lansing. Actually, and same thing with all these brushes too that I'll be using. Wait. Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, pretty sure. Okay, so this is going to prove to be a bit of a logistical challenge, but we'll make do. Here, I'll start by speaking. I also got this bee paper notebook there, and this sticker by local artist Sad Squatch. So shout out to them. But if you're looking for like a good all-purpose sketchbook that can handle everything, these are really good. I've used these for years. Let's make sure there's nothing that I shouldn't show on camera. I don't think so. But no, just random pen sketches here and just some random pencil. Actually, I think I did these with a black colored pencil, but okay, so we'll use that. And then for the paints, I dug out my old Koi watercolor kit because I don't use it as much since I've kind of upgraded different paints, but this seemed like a good project for that. So, and these are perfectly fine paints. Like this was like probably the first big watercolor, like nice watercolor kit I ever got once I started to take it more seriously for doing artwork and stuff, upgrade from the $5 thing I got at Michael's or something. But yeah, this is a little color sheet I did. Is this all the right order? That's the real trick. Yeah. Okay. This will help me kind of try to match the colors that they recommend in the book. So these days I mainly use stuff out of tubes and I make my own pans, but these are perfectly good. Perfectly fine. You don't need super expensive watercolors to do stuff, especially if you're just getting started. Just whatever works for you. is good, because you don't want to spend so much on something you're afraid to use it and have fun with it. So there's that kind of trade-off. Speaking of trade-offs, I gotta really organize my space here. Just wonder if that camera or that light is too bright for the paper. I'm gonna dial that down just a little bit. Looks a little better. Okay. All right. Give me a second. I'm going to take a sip of my tea and we'll get going. If you're got any Stan Sakai fans out there, I got this. He posted about it years ago. This was like early days of COVID lockdown. He posted about this through the Japanese American National Museum, that he did these Usagi Yojimbo mugs, like especially for them. And so I ordered one, and it's good. It's a good mug. It's lately my official green tea mug, but right now it's holding some throat coat tea, because it's that time of year where everything's really dry and just trying to stay hydrated. Okay. I guess I'll go over other stuff. So these are the brushes. Let's actually put them on camera. So these are the brushes I'm using. I like these a lot. These are Princeton Neptunes. I've used these for years. They're really, again, this is probably like the first set of like nice brushes I invested in, and they've been worth it. I got a 16, like a big kind of mop brush, a 6, and a 2, which I think these are the 3 that another watercolor book I have recommended as like the minimum, like, or good ones to have if you're starting out. And then I got this Princeton Aqua Elite dagger brush, which I may not really need tonight, but it's fun if you want to do like kind of fun angle things. Like I'll use it. I think I got this at Odd Nod, but now I can't remember. I might have gotten this one at Michael's because I had like a coupon or something. But these ones I definitely did get at Odd Nod here in Lansing. So, and actually I think they were recommended to me by the staff there. So, but yeah, I like these a lot. They hold up really well. I've definitely put a lot of miles on them over the last few years. So, and then I just got some little jars of water. I got 2. I always recommend having 2. You want one for rinsing and one for clean. That's how I do things at the studio. And yeah, because you always want to have like, clean water for adding to paint and that sort of thing. So, okay, let's yeah, we'll do this forest one. If I can get this. See, I got to do like everything backwards. Yeah, so they're saying for brushes, a 1 to a 3 or a 4 to a 6, which I have. I have a 6 and a 2, so we're good. They're saying masking tape. I'm not really worried about that. Tip: if you want to paint something freestyle, but at the same time would like it to look professional, then paint it inside a circle. That's where they're calling for the compass there. Okay. I'm just trying to decipher what. So they have a light blue, but they're mixing the color, so it's probably like a green. And then is that a? Yeah, I guess I don't. Kind of confused about. Whatever. I'm just gonna wing it. Okay, so, all right, well, let's figure out our colors first here. Only problem with doing something at the start of the book when there's not that many pages and it's flopping open. Okay, so I want a light blue. So we'll kind of compare here what I got here. Yeah, we'll try that one. What I should have done was clean off my palettes. Oh well. Yeah, that'll work. It's kind of a darker green. Maybe. Let's see here. Let's try this one. I also haven't used these in so long, so they definitely need a little waking up, if you will. There we go. I think that's closer to what she's talking about. Okay, so that was okay, that one. All right, and then these mixing instructions are kind of confusing to me, but all right, whatever. We're just gonna go for it. I'm not gonna. I'll figure it out as we go. Okay, so she says we need a pencil. Oh. Speaking of pencils, I'll have another review coming up soon where on the YouTube channel Daniel J. Hogan over there too. And if you're watching YouTube, duh. But if you're watching on Twitch, you may not know. Anyway, I'm going to be having a review of the different Blackwing pencils soon. It's recorded. I just got to edit it. So they want us to do this in a circle. Nope, that's not a circle. Just seeing what I got around here. That's kind of small. I could use my mug. Oh, I know what I'll use. There you go. It's another good art supply for you. This brush cleaner stuff. I use it on all my brushes. It's super easy. Just get your brush wet, roll it around in there, rinse your brush out, done. That's probably the main reasons my brushes have lasted as long as they have. So let's do this. This is super scientific and fancy. What are you gonna do? It's good enough. We're just having fun. God, I thought for a second I was on mute again. Been really bad about muting my mic and then not unmuting it. Okay. So, step one being yeah, we're not doing that. Sketch a circle, okay. Wash the paper inside the circle with clean water. Should not drench the paper, okay. Oh man, I should have done one later in the book so the cover would stay down. All right, so we don't want to drench the paper, so we'll just, so as I said before, I got 2 jars here. This is how I do things at the studio. So this is my rinse water, and this is my clean water. So for this, since I'm going to wet the paper, I'm going to use the clean water here. And we're just going to... Probably should clean this brush a little bit better, but that's fine. All right. I should grab my brush rest from the studio. And I would love to do this kind of stuff at the studio, but we do not have Wi-Fi there, and it is not an ideal place for trying to record audio because it's a shared building. Nothing against my studio mates, just that's the nature of things. It's a shared building, and it's an old building, so it's not ideal for this sort of thing. Okay. So I had to drag a bunch of stuff here. Step 2, work quickly. Dang it. From the top of the circle, add watery light blue with a medium round brush. Okay. Well, I probably should have read ahead a bit. Okay. And I've already forgot what colors I was using. Okay. There we go. Let's put some on the palette here. Okay. Just a few touches. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna start reading ahead so we don't have a repeat of that. Whoops. It's not good. Hang on, just gotta check something here. Ah, don't do that. Dang it. Okay, that's weird. My Stream Deck is... There we go, maybe I gotta not hide it. It'll behave. Okay. All right, whatever. Okay. At the bottom of the circle, add watery emerald blue to the wet layer. Okay. It's kind of going by the vibes they have on the sample here. I may need to... Let's do this so it doesn't seep through. Okay, add a tint. Add the tint of green to the base of the wet circle using the blending technique, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah. What was I doing? Tint of green. Okay. I mean, the good thing about this is there's no real wrong way to do this. This is just for fun and an exercise, and it's okay. It's what I tell people when they say, I can't even draw a straight line. I tell them it doesn't matter. Straight lines are overrated, but also, like, just make stuff and play around. It's fine. Like, that's more important than, you know, if you want realism, take a photo. Okay, now it says let the painting dry. Should I grab my hair dryer from the studio? That made for some fun audio. Don't worry, I would have muted the mic. Okay. All right, well, while that's drying, I guess I'll read ahead here. Um, Add some trees to the background. You can paint trees in two ways. First approach is to paint a vertical line and then start adding branches from the top. So that's might be a little too bright on the, there we go. Second way is to follow the same steps, but paint the branches horizontally instead. For this project, I've chosen the second way using a small round brush. Okay, we'll paint two different types of background trees. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I gotta wait for this to dry a bit. If I was at the studio, I would have my hair dryer and I would just be drying it. But that's okay. And also, to be honest, I would be kind of afraid of blowing a fuse here with all the stuff I have running at the same time while doing this, so it's fine. We'll give it a minute. And so watery emerald blue, we can mix up some of that at least. That's the other good thing about these Sakura kits. They come with palettes, which I should have cleaned off, but whatever. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. Again, this is just for fun. I actually didn't really do this middle background part. No, but I guess, whatever. I mean, I can do another one of these. Doesn't matter. It's just good to sit down and paint. So what is the second way? Second way is to follow the same steps, but paint the branches horizontally. Okay. So she's saying like do something like this. And then I did I did that wrong. I made it too also it's blending in with, that's okay though. It's all right. You can blend in with this. That's whatever. Who cares? We'll here, make it a little darker. Wanted some more this green to it. There we go. I haven't, I'll admit, confess, whatever, I have not painted in a while like this, and it's nice to get back to it. So all right. Yeah, I am missing I have a little brush rest thing I have at the studio. It's actually technically for actually I have a couple. One is technically a for like tea bags to put on. And another one I have is it's meant as like a soap dish, but it's great for like laying brushes in because it has like the one that's a soap dish has like lines in it, not lines, but section. It's sectional, so you put the soap on it and like the water kind of drips off and down. But it's great for like doing stuff with multiple brushes. Let's see what. Yeah, there we go. Let's do this. Just for the heck of it. There we go. A little muddy, a little blotchy over here, but whatever. Who cares? This is only supposed to take 15 minutes, but I feel like we're at 30 minutes total so far. I mean, not all that's been doing this, but watery black blue. Okay. It's almost transparent. All right, all right, all right. Black blue. Actually, I'm gonna cheat here and just use one of the came with the frame colors here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this it? Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That's what we want. Blending in. But I mean, this is a fun little technique just to learn how to. Doing these too big at the top is the problem. I need to do it like something like that. Okay, now we gotta use a more opaque blue black for the. This paper's buckling up big time. Which is why she has a step I didn't do where you're supposed to like tape down the paper, but this is just a sketchbook, so I'm not too worried about it. It's fine. This is all just for fun. We're just playing around. It's not a big deal. Don't treat your sketchbooks as something precious and that, you know, by which I mean make a mess, you know. Have fun. Don't worry about ruining your perfect fancy sketchbook. Just you can always buy another sketchbook. Let's do my best Bob Ross here. Let's add a little bird friend in the background. There you go. How about another one over here? There we go. Every forest needs some birds. There you go. That's not bad. Could maybe smooth out these edges here a little bit. Oops. Yeah, it's all right. See if I can get a. Because like the problem is I need enough light to for it to show up on camera and so I can see what I'm doing, but also not have enough where it blows out the image that you can't really see anything. So just finding that balance. Whatever. Okay. Well, yeah, so that was fun. So, and again, sorry for the brightness on the page there, but there's other examples of different color combinations you can use. Hey, how's it going, Gengar? Yep, watercolor. Playing around with some watercolor tonight. Thank you. Yeah, this is the book I got that I'm using. I'm doing good. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see, we could do another one of these. Let's do different colors. Where's my... Yeah, we could fit this on the same page. All right. Okay, that works. Take a drink break, hang on. Okay, well, let's pick some different colors. We'll do the same thing, just different colors. Why don't we do... These were like blues and greens. Let's do... We'll go the other way. We'll do reds and yellows. Let's see here. So we'll do something like that, although that might not show up too well on camera because it's so bright, but it actually looks a little green from the water I'm using. Let's try a different one. That's a little better. Okay. I forgot I gotta wet this, so we'll do that first. I'll use this big old one here just to... And we'll just get some yellow going. I'm a big fan of watercolor. I've been doing it for years, and I have a artist friend who once described watercolor as trying to nail jello to a tree, but which I get what he means by that. It can be very unforgiving if you're not paying attention. How did I get into watercolor? I got into watercolor, this goes way back, when I was doing Comic Cons, actually, and I wanted to sell like original art and sketches stuff, so I just bought literally like a cheap like $5 watercolor kit at Michael's or something, and just started doing little watercolor sketches for shows and that sort of thing. And this might have gotten away from me already, but we'll see. And so that's how I got into watercolor, just doing I was doing sketch cards, as they call them, like little simple watercolor sketch, like, you know, like this big, like 3.5 by 5, like trading card size. And so I started doing that. And then later on, when I got more comfortable with it, I started doing on the spot commissions with watercolor at Comic Cons, where I would have people, they would roll dice, and I had a chart that related to the dice rolls, and I like one column would be like animals, another column would be like emotions, that sort of thing. So they would roll dice, and for example, I would roll like a sad tiger or something like that, and or a happy dinosaur, and then I would just quickly draw them on the spot, and then for extra money I would add watercolor. So that's what I did with that. And then later on, when I started to try doing, yes, the dice thing, it was a lot of fun. When I was doing Comic Cons, I was always usually my best seller things. But then when I started doing art festivals, I moved to more bigger pieces, and that's when I started doing more with watercolor, like larger pieces. And then later on started doing my found cartoon stuff, where I'll make a watercolor shape, and then after it dries, and then I'll turn the shape into a cartoon using ink. And that's what I've been doing mostly for art festivals the last few years. This past year I started doing them on canvas, with like big canvases with acrylic and Posca paints, but I still sell like small 5 by 7 and 4 by 6 excuse me, versions on watercolor paper using watercolor. So that's kind of my watercolor journey. And yeah. When this dries, I'll draw on top of it. Let's see, what can I do here to, wait, that's too, let's use a smaller one here. The dice thing was a lot of fun. I miss doing it because I can't do that at like the art festivals I go to, because that's, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's some I could probably do it, but also I'm not set up for that. That's a whole nother, yeah, I might have done this wrong. I should have done different colors. Let's see if I can salvage this. If I was doing Comic Cons again, I would absolutely like bring it back. Here, let's go the other way. Let's try a purple. Ooh, come on. The question is, do I still do conventions or just art festivals? The last few years, it has been just art festivals, because once I pivoted toward the more art festival type of work, I was making more doing that than I ever did at Comic Cons, like selling comics and stuff that I made. Like it wasn't even close. So I've been doing that the past few years, but I did just apply to a small comic and zine fest here in Lansing called LIX, the Lansing Independent Comic and Zine Festival or whatever. And if I get into that, I'm going to use it as an excuse to make some new like mini comic stuff or something, just to kind of inspire me. But the last few years, this has been art festivals. Thank you. I do miss doing Comic Cons. I made a lot of great friends when I was doing Comic Cons and hanging out in Artist Alley and stuff, and I'm still friends with a lot of them to this day, even though I haven't tabled at a Comic Con, and it's since 2019, maybe. Yeah, that's probably the last time I did a Comic Con, like straight up Comic Con. Yeah, this one kind of got away from me as far as the colors go, but that's all right. Oh, let's see, is this dry yet? Well, these are dry. I can draw on those. Let's see here. So for like my found cartoons, I'm going to spin this so I'm not dragging my hand across wet paint. So I would have like I'll have a watercolor shape, and then I'll just figure out what I can turn it into. And so, you know, just as a quick example, I usually put more thought into it than that, but to give you an idea. So like that kind of thing. And so last year I've been experimenting doing these on big canvases. Well, not all big, but larger canvases, and with acrylic, which has been a lot of fun actually. So, right, it's gonna get all smushed, but I got some sound effect here. What happened? Did I get a... I don't have my alerts on this one. That's why I didn't see anything. Thanks for the follow. Forgot I did not have don't have my alerts stuff on this setting or this scene, because actually I use this scene to record my art supply interviews, or not interviews, reviews. So that's why I was like no chat box and stuff. So, but I figured I would try it for tonight because it gives me a little more real estate to show off stuff. But that's okay. Thank you for the follow. And okay, so I guess let's try a different one. What are we at here? We're an hour in. Thank you. Yeah, watercolor's fun. It can be a tough thing to get your head around at first, but as I tell people, I enjoy the chaos of it. And you know, let's do some found cartoons real quick. Why not? Since we're on the subject, let's find a good color here. Let's do a couple shapes here. I didn't need it. Yeah. But yeah, I enjoy the paint having a mind of its own and how it can do kind of whatever it wants. And it's fun. I dig it. Okay, I gotta wait for those to dry. So this is a case where this big brush like this is really good for this sort of thing, where you just want to do like a big, huge shape like that. So in the early days, like really, I would just have something like this, or probably even something like this. And, you know, doing a big shape like this with these small brushes isn't always easy. Oh, I should use this, my angle brush. See what we can do with this thing. But like when I got this like changed my whole workflow for making stuff. Made a big difference. Let's see here. Okay, let's see what we can do with this. I've not used this too often, but this is a good thing if you want to do this kind of stuff too, where it sort of add color on top of it. It's fun for that. Okay, just gotta wait for these to dry. Should have grabbed my hair dryer. That's all right. What was the question was, what was my favorite watercolor picture I did? I've done a lot. Let's see if I can find one real quick. Let's see here. The image. Okay, let's see. Should have some on here. Downloaded a bunch yesterday. Yeah. Here's one I definitely enjoyed doing. Whoops. Okay. Let's shrink that down here. So this is one of my found cartoons. I did this one sold. So again, I just made I'm motioning with my mouse. You can't see that. Anyway, I just made the color shape and then figured out what I could turn it into. Thank you. And just made that into like a weird sea creature kind of thing. So that's one example. Let's see. Let's hide these here. I'll go grab some other ones that sold this past season. This is like a little frog guy I did. So I don't always necessarily have to use the entire shape I make. I just kind of, we'll use it as a starting point and that sort of thing. That's part of the fun. Let's see here. Okay, this one probably is a favorite. Definitely a favorite for sure. Just thank you. Yeah, so this is just, again, just made a weird shape and then decided I could turn into a cat doing like a Chun-Li kick kind of thing. Let's see what else I got here. Here, I'll show off one of the acrylic ones I did. Hang on, let's resize this. Okay. So this is an acrylic one I did. So this is on canvas. Unlike, so a lot of them, how I do it is I don't go into it deciding what it's going to be. For this piece and some other ones like it, I decided this one I decided they would all be cats, and there's a companion piece to this one where it's also cats, but it's reds and yellows and that sort of thing. So I just made the shapes on the canvas using Posca paint markers, let them dry, and then, you know, figured out what to do with the shapes when I was done. But, you know, I knew they wanted to all be cat related. Hang on, do I have the second one too? Let's see here. I do. Okay, so here's the other one. It's a companion piece to it, the one I just showed, just with oranges and reds and that sort of thing. In some ways, sticking to a theme like this is more difficult, because then I have to, you know, yeah, the colors are more vibrant in these ones because it's, I think, probably because it's acrylic paint on canvas, so they're more solid, they're more opaque is the word I'm looking for. Anyway, but so with like these ones where I know I want them all to be cats, it can be more difficult because then I'll have some of these shapes where, like, let's see if I can kind of point here, like the one little motorcycle at the bottom here, like that has to be, you know, I have to make that into something cat related, which can be more difficult than if it's just I can do whatever I want. Okay, these are dry. No, they're getting there. Some are dry enough. Let's get, we'll use a different pen for this. Let's see here. Oop, don't put stuff on the keyboard. That's how, yeah, that works. So what I'll do, I'll have the shape, and then I'll kind of, you know, what's on like a, for the watercolor ones, when they're on like a 4x6 or 5x7 piece of watercolor paper, I'll just, you know, spin it around. So it could be, you know, it could be this way, it could be this way, it could be that way, you know, whatever. And until I just kind of see something in the drawing and just sort of go from there. And this is definitely one of those things, like the more, you know, the more I do it, I'm just in the mindset of how to do them and, you know, what to make and that sort of thing. Like it's a creative muscle thing, I guess is the point I'm getting at. Just kind of go for what I'm feeling in the moment and don't really try to overthink it, you know, for something like that. Yeah, it feels dry enough. Yeah, it's probably still a little bit wet. So when I'm making these at the studio, what I'll do is I'll cut up a bunch of 5x7 watercolor paper cards, and then I'll just put shapes on a bunch of them at once, different colors, and then I just let them dry. Then when I come back to the studio, I'll actually put them in a pile and kind of shuffle them like a deck of cards, and I'll pull one out, and that's the one I work on. For the canvas stuff, obviously I don't do that, but there's a little more forethought into that, because if I mess up a piece of watercolor paper, big deal, you know, I can easily make another one. If I mess up a canvas, that's a little more of an investment, so I'm a little more careful about what I do with those, because canvas is not always cheap, and then it means I have to go buy another one and all that stuff. So Whereas watercolor paper, you can just, buy a big stack of them, and I just cut them to size and all that. Try a different pen here. Yeah, there we go. I got it. Oops. Should probably try to actually do this on camera. And really, these started as like, I did not come up with this idea. I've never claimed to. This was like a warm-up exercise I saw artists doing on Instagram. I was like, oh, that's fun. So I started doing the same thing just as a warm-up. But then I just had so much fun doing them, and then people saying how much they liked them when I would post them. So I just decided, like, well, I'll try selling them, and people like them, and that's like my thing I'm known for now at art festivals. Something I did this last season, 2025, was I just, instead of like trying to have like a wide variety of different art things, I just did these, and it definitely helped. And I think definitely was less stressful when it comes to some stuff, because I don't have to worry about explaining like one type of thing instead of like 3 or 4 type of things. And yeah. And what's good about me doing more with the canvas stuff, because they're bigger, they're more eye-catching and take up more space on the walls in my festival tent, which is good. And like, do I use other forms of painting or just watercolor? It's essentially just watercolor and the acrylic versions of this that I'll do. Like, I don't do oil painting. I've never touched oil. It's usually just watercolor and acrylic stuff. Sometimes gouache, but that's also, gouache is basically if acrylic and watercolor had a baby. So, but yeah, I've never done anything with oil painting. I'm intrigued by it, but it's not something I've been able to try yet. So who knows? Maybe someday. But oil painting has not been in the cards lately. That's the other thing I like about watercolor, is it is super easy to clean up, and I can do it anywhere basically, unlike oil painting, which is a lot more involved with like chemicals and stuff and letting things dry forever. And like that's why I started doing watercolor back in the Comic-Con days, was because I needed something I could do really fast and would dry really fast and was easy to clean up and it was portable. So like doing watercolor stuff on the go is definitely something I like. But I have mad respect for people who do oil painting, because that's a whole other animal. I mean, they would probably say it. Some would probably say the same thing about watercolor, that they would wouldn't touch it, but they'll do oil painting. All right, we're at here a little over an hour. Okay. Let's see if there's any one of these I want to do again. Whatever. Just wing it. Why is that not showing? Whatever. Okay. But that's also the good thing about watercolor, is it's very affordable to get into. Like you can get a starter watercolor kit for under $20, under $10, depending where you go, really. And that's honestly what I started with, was like seriously like a under $10 watercolor kit. And yeah, and I've just upgraded over the years. Let's see here. Good. Just checking on my phone. Let's see here. Yeah. Oops. Sorry. So this is what they call wet on wet. So I'm adding a different color on top of the already wet paint. So it's going to get kind of messy and stuff, but that's all right. Doing my best not to get water all over my desk here. At the studio, I just have like a big paper drop cloth over the table there, so it's not a big deal. But here I gotta be a little more careful because I actually have like computers and stuff. How messy does watercolor get? Um, it it depends. Like if it's super wet like this, if you're not careful, like, well, of course it's not going to do it now that I'm talking about it, but it can, you know, run off the page. If you the biggest risk is if you knock over your water cup. That's really the messiest it can get. But you know, if you get any on you, it just washes right off. Now, if it gets on like clothing or something, that's another story. But you know, if it gets on any sort of paper, it's definitely gonna, you know, ruin that. But you know, it's not like acrylic or oil where it's gonna be harder to, even more harder to clean up. But like I said, the biggest risk is knocking over your water cup when it comes to watercolor, which I've definitely done once or twice over the years. The other big risk is accidentally drinking out of your water cup. So if you have, that's why my tea mug is on the other table to my left, is nowhere near my rinse glasses, because I've for sure done that at least once. Like I know some artists, like they'll just use any random cups or coffee mugs as their rinse water, and you're just kind of asking yes, you're just asking for trouble at that point. So so here at home I just have these old jars, which helps. At the studio I do have their old plastic drinking cups, but you know, anything I'm drinking out of at the studio is not going to be that. It's going to be like my Yeti or something. So they're at least different. Yes. Watercolor water. You said it. Actually, I don't want that brush. I want... It has happened. I don't recommend drinking it if you can avoid it. One of my artist friends on posted on Facebook the other day, actually, he was talking about, you know, getting back into doing some watercolor, and he was proud to share that he had not drank out of his rinse cup that day, so at least so far. So let's see, I'll add some green to this. Let's see how this goes. Yeah. So this is what they call wet on dry. So this bottom layer, the red, is dry, and this blue I'm putting on is wet. So you kind of get these interesting textures and colors and stuff. It's definitely too wet over here. It's very, very wet. So, oh well. But something you can do, if you have a brush that's dry, you can use like a dry brush to kind of dab up some of the water, or you can use like a paper towel. And if you do this, you'll actually kind of get some texture as well. I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but there's a little bit of texture from the paper towel there. much. Dang it. Just waiting for these to dry. This is the one advantage to when I'm streaming stuff on the iPad is in Procreate, I don't have to wait for stuff to dry. That's all right. Just make some other shapes. These will probably actually dry quicker because they're not as much water and as heavy as paint. But this is why I keep a hair dryer at the studio, because I would just blast this with the hair dryer and it would be dry and like right away. Speaking of water, I need a drink. If you can't tell if it's still wet, if you like kind of angle it in the light, if it's shiny, so like see how this is shiny, that means it's wet. That's a surefire way to determine if something is still wet or not. So because these had like a lot of water on them, that's why they're, the rest of them are probably okay. That one's still a little wet on that side. This is such a cool and creative process for art. Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. I like it a lot. It's lets me make unique stuff, and I'm always making something, you know, different. Yep, that's still a little wet. Oh well. So the thing you got to be careful of if you're doing watercolor stuff in a sketchbook, just the back of the page can get a little buckled or wet, depending on how you do it. If you like using the back of every page, I mean, that's fine. Just if you don't care, just, be aware of it. Like for me, for this, for like, being a sketchbook, I don't care. Like I'll draw on the backs of these and stuff, and I may not do watercolor on the back of the watercolor because it might reactivate, the stuff on the other side. So you don't want that. But if I'm just drawing with a pen or something on that side, it's fine. Crap. Inked myself. So something, this is something I do with my pens, is I'll actually put the date when I get them, because I go through so many pens and, have so many different ones. and sometimes multiple copies of the same type of pen. So this way I know, okay, I got this one last April. So it's good to know, like, this isn't that old. Getting there, it's almost a year old, but you know, like I could have some to sit around, and then it could be like a 4 or 5 year old pen, and I'm like, why is this not working? Oh, because it's so old. So it also kind of helps me track how quickly I go through them too, depending on the type of pens. Some of them I don't care about, like these Jetstream ballpoint pens. Like I won't put the date on them because they last a long time, and I'm not worried about it. But for like these, the pens I use for, like, you know, drawing and stuff, where, you know, I need these to make the art to sell. Like I need to pay attention to how quickly I go through them, or how old they are, if they're worth using, if they're still so old or whatever. Yeah, it's too wet. Need to wait. Dang it. Oh well. Well, let's do a different one while that's drying. Let's see here. Yeah, probably still a little too wet, but whatever. Okay. Thanks for stopping by, Gengar. Appreciate it. Hopefully see you again. Thanks for the follow. I'm streaming usually Sundays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Although Wednesdays I usually save for playing games like Stardew Valley or something, and Sundays I tend to save for art stuff. And if you miss a stream, they're all on my YouTube page after the fact. I'm Daniel J. Hogan over on YouTube as well. So everything I stream on Twitch ends up on YouTube. Cool. Hopefully I can see you Wednesday. It's the same color I used. No. Just building a weird little forest, I guess. Whoops. That's all right. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's paint one inside a weird shape here. Okay. I should probably be making these bigger, but eh. Okay. YouTube doesn't like it when I talk for a while because it starts saying there's something wrong with your audio. Yeah, it's just because I haven't said anything in a while. I don't have that problem when I'm playing like Stardew or something where there's always sound going out. They're still pretty wet. Whatever. Let's play around with this brush. That's probably too light to show up. There we go. I'm doing these trees and like I keep starting off too big at the jump. That worked. I could do these the other way that they recommend. What is it? You do this and then yeah, there we go. Something like that. Which with this brush definitely makes a difference. Those are still wet. Okay, just waiting for these to dry. All right, they're getting there. Okay. There we go. Just deciding what color to use here. Let's see here. It's my cheat sheet. So if you ever, even if you make your own watercolor kit, and I said this earlier in the stream, but make a little swatch for your colors. If I was doing this again, which I still could do, but if I was doing this again today, I probably wouldn't have the color numbers. I would have the color names, but yeah, that's something I did years ago. And again, this is the, I'll show it again. This is the Sakura Koi Watercolor Kit, Pocket Field Sketch Box, as they call it. I've had this for years. They're great. I mean, they're like, if you just want to like level up your watercolor game for a reasonable price, like they're a great way to go. I mean, of course that was almost 10 years ago when I bought this, so I really don't know how much they are today, but compared to other like professional level watercolors, they are definitely way more affordable. Like I have some watercolor tubes I've bought that probably cost as much as this whole kit, or two of them would at least, for sure. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, those fancy watercolor tubes, they're great. They're super good, but and if you make your own pans, like they can actually last a long, like you could buy like a tube and it'll last you years depending how much you use it. But for me, they last a long time, like even if you get the small tubes. Because how you do it is you get you can buy little pans like this that are empty, and you just squeeze some of the tube in there, kind of flatten it out, and then just let it dry, and then it acts as like the little cakes here. It's the same concept, and you just reactivate them with water. So that's how you can make your own little travel palettes or whatever. So that's what I've been doing the last few years is buying tubes of watercolor paints and making my own pans. Because I think like in the long run, it's more cost effective. Maybe, I don't know, but it's more of an investment, that's for sure. But sorry, I lost my train of thought about what I was doing. And these Sakura kits specifically, they're designed to be used on the go. That's what this is, a travel watercolor brush. As you can see, I've probably never used this one because I bought other ones, that I bought other water brushes, as these are called, that I've used instead. But like the idea is like, oop, that's not how that goes. This whole thing like seals up, and this little ring here on the bottom is like, you essentially like you hold it, you know, in your hand. Like here's your palette, and then you're painting with your right hand or whatever, and you know, that's these are designed to be like on the go sort of things. They have smaller ones. They're like, that was the first one of theirs I ever got, was like the small, like I don't even know how many colors it would have been, 9 colors or something, and those are really good too. Like, because they're like the size of a deck of cards, maybe a little bigger, but you know, they're really great for painting on the go, etc. Let's get wild over here. Let's see here. There you go. That's fun. Just seeing what other colors I got that might work here. Oh, we do have the numbers on here. I just can't see them because they're all covered up with paint. Yeah. Okay. Let's do a little tiny tree. Just a little tiny tree. Sure. Let's see, we could do something here with this guy. Actually, that might be the same color. That's not what I wanted. There we go. So I mentioned this earlier, but this is what's called wet on dry. So this paint is very dry, and I'm just throwing some wet paint of a different color on it, just to kind of add some more detail. Let's see, where was that? For this one over here that's dry, I'm kind of going back with just a wet brush, just water, just to kind of smooth out the edges and stuff and whatever. I'm just playing around, seeing what happens. So like in here, if I wanted to like kind of fill in this space a little bit. And then this, I can go back here. Kind of blend these a bit if you want it. You don't have to do this. Whatever. And so what's cool too is, once stuff dries, and like the thing about watercolor is it's very easy to go over it with ink, like even just like a ballpoint pen or something. Like say you just wanted to add some like definition to the shapes here, you can do that. Or add little details, like little birds in the background or something. So you can't really do this with acrylic unless you get like a big, heavy duty ink pen. And even then, so for the found cartoons that I do, I'll bring up an example again that I do on acrylic. This one, open. So again, these all start as acrylic shapes, and then I draw on top of them. I'll zoom in a bit. And there, so you can see me. So these, because they're on canvas, I have to be careful about the kind of black pens I use, because if it's a really hard tip, it's gonna kind of, whoops, stop bumping my camera. It's gonna scrape and bump against the texture on the canvas. So I'll use more of like a brush tip. For some of these, I'll use like a Posca pen. I thought I had one. I guess I don't. Oh, wait, no, I do. It's like, no, probably need to hide this so you can actually see what I'm showing. So like Posca pens, that's what I'm talking about. These things, these are paint pens. This one's probably used up and incredibly dry, but I'll use those on the canvas because it's also acrylic paint, so it goes well together. And then, but on watercolor, when I'm just on paper, I can use like really, like you can go over with pencil if you want. That's the fun of it. But because acrylic is like, it has a texture to it, it has a surface to it, whereas like watercolor just kind of seeps into the paper. Like, that's the difference. Whereas like if you throw acrylic on this page, like you're gonna have a layer of, like a surface of acrylic paint, whereas like the watercolor just kind of absorbs into the paper. So, which is another reason I like watercolor, because you can do stuff with it after the fact pretty easily. Like, I'll bring up another found cartoon example here. I don't think I showed this one earlier. So like this is one where I just made that, yellow orangish shape, let it dry, and then I drew all around it. And for the case of the face of the owl, drew on the watercolor itself, and that's just all with a pen kind of like this. It might even bend this pen. 2023, nope. Because I have the date on my pen, I know I got this one in 2024, so I did not draw that one with this specific pen. At least it might have been another version of this one, but yeah. So that's the other thing I like about watercolor is you can get really mixed media with it. I mean, you can with acrylic too, obviously, as I've shown with my canvas found cartoons, but could do a lot more with and a lot easier with watercolor than you can with acrylic. But the upside of acrylic is you can do light on dark. Whereas like watercolor, you have to do, you have to work the opposite. You go light to dark. And whereas with acrylic, you can do whatever you want. So again, to show an example here, I'll bring up the other cat one I had. So this is acrylic, so you can see, again, I'm pointing with the mouse that you can't see the mouse part, but let's kind of resize this a bit. Where are you? Let's crop this. No, not that. Dang it. There we go. There we go. So for this one, you can see, for some of I laid down the red first, which is darker, but then I put the yellow, like for this one right here, I put the yellow on top of it. If this was watercolor and the red was totally dry, you would not see it. I mean, you could mix them when they're still wet, sure. You know, there's ways around that, but that's the advantage of the acrylic, which I like. So, because I couldn't really do, I could do similar looks like this on watercolor, but it would definitely be a different process. So yeah. All right, well, we're coming up on 2 hours. And it's about 9 o'clock, and my voice is kind of starting to go too. So I think I'm going to call it good for tonight. Thank you for stopping by. If you're on Twitch, thank you for stopping by. If you're on YouTube, thank you for stopping by. If you're watching the replay on Twitch or YouTube, especially on YouTube, please like and subscribe if you can. That does help a lot. And if you're on Twitch, please, give a follow if you can, or share my channel with someone you think might enjoy it. That also helps a bunch. I'll be back this Wednesday, February the 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern for more Stardew Valley. I'm working on romancing everyone in town, bachelors and bachelorettes. I've not reached that level with any of the bachelors yet, but I have 4 girlfriends at the moment. So yeah, we're just getting silly with it. I'm not being serious about it at all, which is the whole point. Just have fun. So swing by my channel this Wednesday, February 4th, 7 p.m. Eastern for more Stardew Valley shenanigans as I try to romance everyone in town. I was doing the Joja route. That's technically done because I've purchased all the Joja upgrades, and the community center is now a Joja warehouse and all that stuff. So I'm technically done with the big parts of that. I think there might still be some stuff coming up, but yeah. So yeah, thank you for watching, and appreciate it. And I will see you Wednesday. Take care and have a good night. Bye.